The decade following World War I transformed America from a predominantly rural immigrant society into a modern, urban consumer culture virtually overnight. The 1922nd brought unprecedented prosperity, technological revolution, and cultural upheaval that would redefine what it meant to be American. For the first time in history, more Americans lived in cities than on farms. Mass production made automobiles, radios, and household appliances accessible to working-class families. Jazz music, Hollywood movies, and national advertising created a shared popular culture that transcended regional and ethnic boundaries. Yet beneath the glittering surface of the Roaring Twenties lay profound tensions. The Great War had unleashed powerful forces of nationalism and suspicion toward immigrants and political radicals. The Red Scare of 1919 to 1920 shattered traditional immigrant communities, while new immigration quotas slammed shut America's previously open doors. Prohibition created a vast underground economy and challenged traditional authority. Young Americans embraced new freedoms in fashion, entertainment, and sexual behavior that scandalized their parents' generation. For working-class immigrant families, the 1922nd offered both unprecedented opportunity and existential choice. Embrace complete Americanization or risk being left behind by a society that increasingly demanded cultural conformity as the price of acceptance. This is the story of one such family navigating the promise and peril of America's most transformative decade. In the pre-dawn darkness of a Brooklyn tenement that has seen better days, 23-year-old Giuseppe Romano Jr. awakens to the sound of his father's coughing echoing through the thin walls. The elder Giuseppe's lungs, damaged by years of shipyard work during the Great War, serve as the family's unwelcome alarm clock. The three-room apartment at 247 Hester Street represents a significant step up from the single room his parents occupied when they arrived from Sicily in 1905, but it still houses 4 adults with little privacy and perpetual tension. Giuseppe Jr., or Joe, as he's begun calling himself at work, says, lies on the fold-out cot in the main room, listening to his mother Elena moving quietly in the kitchen. She rises earlier than anyone, maintaining the old country tradition of starting each day with proper coffee, even though the family can now afford the luxury of fresh grounds from the A&P grocery store. The ritual connects her to a disappearing world where Italian mothers controlled their domestic kingdoms through careful attention to such details. Through the single window facing the brick wall of the adjacent building, the first traces of electric light from neighbouring apartments create a checkerboard pattern that would have been impossible just a decade earlier. The Romano family installed electricity 2 years ago, after Giuseppe Sr.'s overtime pay from wartime ship construction made the monthly bill manageable. The bare bulb hanging from the ceiling represents more than convenience. It symbolises their gradual ascent from the immigrant underclass to what they hope might eventually become respectability. As Joe pulls on the work clothes he laid out the night before, he notices his younger brother Antonio already dressed and studying at the small kitchen table. At 19, Antonio represents the family's greatest hope and most dangerous gamble. He works part-time at the local grocery while attending night school, determined to pass the citizenship examination that has become essential for any immigrant seeking advancement in post-Red Scare America. The books scattered across the table, American history, civics, English grammar, vers, cost more than the family spends on food in a week, but Giuseppe Sr. insists the investment is necessary. Non dimenticare, Elena whispers to her sons in Italian as she hands them their lunch pails. Don't forget, but her words carry layers of meaning beyond simple maternal concern. Don't forget where you came from. Don't forget your family obligations. Don't forget that survival in this new America requires constant vigilance and careful performance of loyalty. The phrase has become the family's morning benediction, a daily reminder of the delicate balance required to prosper in a society that simultaneously offers opportunity and threatens destruction for those who misstep. Giuseppe Sr. emerges from the bedroom, his weathered face bearing the premature lines of a man who has laboured hard for modest gains. At 52, he looks older than his years, the result of dangerous wartime work that paid unprecedented wages but exacted a physical toll. He nods silently to his sons. Conversation comes later, after coffee has prepared his throat for the day ahead. The ritual of shared silence acknowledges both the cramped quarters and the understanding that each man faces his own challenges in navigating America's changing landscape. The kitchen fills with the aroma of espresso prepared in the small pot Elena brought from Sicily 15 years earlier. The coffee represents one of the few old country traditions the family maintains openly, though even this simple pleasure carries political weight. During the worst days of the Red Scare, Italian families were advised to avoid conspicuous displays of foreign culture. The act of brewing espresso instead of American coffee has become a small daily act of defiance, an assertion that assimilation need not require complete cultural surrender. As the family gathers around the small table for their brief morning meal, the conversation flows between Italian and English with the fluid complexity of immigrant families caught between worlds. Elena speaks primarily Italian, preserving the language of her childhood but struggling with English after 15 years in America. Giuseppe Sr. has learned enough English for work, but prefers Italian for family matters. Antonio responds in English, even to Italian questions, demonstrating his determination to master his adopted language. Joe switches between languages depending on his audience, a linguistic flexibility that mirrors his broader adaptation strategy. The breakfast itself reflects the family's economic progress and cultural negotiation. Elena serves Italian bread from the local bakery alongside American bacon purchased from the chain grocery store. The combination would have been unthinkable during their early years in America, when every penny mattered and ethnic foods provided both economy and comfort. Now the family can afford small luxuries that demonstrate their growing prosperity while maintaining connections to their cultural identity. Outside the window, the sounds of the neighborhood awakening create a familiar symphony of urban immigrant life. Children's voices echo in the courtyard, mixing languages and accents in the casual multilingualism of second-generation Americans. Horse-drawn carts clatter over cobblestones, though their sound increasingly competes with automobile engines, as even working-class families begin purchasing the Model T Fords rolling off Detroit assembly lines. The mechanical symphony represents the soundtrack of a society in rapid transition, where old and new exist in constant tension. As 6:45 approaches, the family members prepare to separate for their individual journeys through the American day. Giuseppe Sr. gathers his work clothes and lunch pail for another shift at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, where peacetime construction offers steady but less lucrative work than wartime production. Antonio collects his school books and heads for his morning job at Goldstein's Grocery, where his bilingual abilities make him valuable for serving the neighborhood's diverse customer base. Elena begins planning her day of household management and community navigation, understanding that her role in maintaining family stability allows the men to focus on economic advancement. For Joe, the morning routine has become a daily preparation for performance. He checks his appearance in the small mirror Elena hung near the door, ensuring his clothing and grooming meet American workplace standards. He practices pronouncing his supervisor's name Mr. Sullivan instead of Mr. Sullivan, and reviews the English phrases. He's been learning to demonstrate his commitment to Americanization. These small rituals of self-transformation represent the daily work of assimilation, the conscious effort required to succeed in a society that rewards conformity and punishes deviation. As the family disperses into the Brooklyn morning, each member carries the weight of collective aspiration. Their individual successes or failures will determine not only personal advancement, but family survival in an America that has grown increasingly suspicious of foreign-born residents. The morning routine, repeated 6 days a week, serves as both preparation and rehearsal for the complex performance of American identity that each day demands. Joe steps into the October morning air, immediately sensing the electric tension that has characterized Brooklyn streets since the end of the Great War. The neighborhood itself tells the story of America's rapid transformation, housing older tenement buildings. Housing established immigrant families stand alongside newer construction designed for the growing population of industrial workers drawn by wartime prosperity. Electric street lamps, installed during the city's modernization drive, cast harsh white light on sidewalks where Italian grandmothers still sweep their front steps, according to old country traditions. The walk to the subway station takes him through a carefully mapped geography of ethnic territories and American spaces. On Hester Street, Italian families maintain their cultural stronghold. Specialty shops selling imported cheese and cured meats, elderly men playing cards in storefront social clubs, women conducting animated conversations in rapid Sicilian dialect. But as Joe turns toward the subway entrance, the linguistic landscape shifts dramatically. English dominates, peppered with the cautious, formally correct speech of immigrants, determined to demonstrate their American credentials. At the newsstand outside the subway entrance, headlines scream the day's anxieties in bold black type. Reds deported in midnight, raids and immigration quotas debated in Congress. Joe purchases his daily paper, the Brooklyn Eagle, rather than Il Progresso, the Italian-language newspaper. His father still prefers, Pontius, that his reading choices might be observed by neighbors, supervisors, or the plainclothes investigators who have become an unwelcome presence in immigrant neighborhoods since the bombing campaigns of 1919. The subway platform buzzes with the controlled energy of working-class New York beginning its daily routine. Joe recognizes many faces, fellow factory workers, shop clerks, construction laborers, but notices how the easy camaraderie of earlier years has been replaced by watchful distance. The Red Scare taught immigrant workers that casual conversation might be misinterpreted, that expressing frustration with working conditions or government policies could be reported as dangerous radicalism. The result is a peculiar social atmosphere where neighbors avoid eye contact and limit interaction to weather observations and other safely neutral topics. As the train arrives, Joe observes the careful choreography of post-war social relations playing out in the crowded car. Irish-American veterans, identifiable by their confident posture and occasional service pins, command subtle deference from other passengers. Their military service provided a pathway to unquestioned American identity that remains unavailable to foreign-born workers like Joe's father. German Americans keep their heads down and speak only when necessary, still bearing the social burden of their ancestry's association with the recent enemy. Jewish immigrants cluster together, their conversations conducted in whispers after the Palmer raids made political discussion dangerous for anyone associated with leftist organizing. The train car itself represents a microcosm of America's economic transformation. Workers in clean factory uniforms sit alongside men in white-collar shirts, evidence of the expanding middle class created by industrial prosperity. Women passengers, unthinkable in large numbers just a generation earlier, wear the shorter skirts and bobbed hair that scandalize older immigrants, while symbolizing the new freedoms emerging in post-war America. Their presence in public spaces without male escorts would have marked them as morally suspect in the old country. But American economic necessity has transformed such behavior into grudging respectability. Joe's own appearance reflects his careful navigation of cultural expectations. His work clothes are clean but not ostentatious, marking him as a respectable labourer without pretensions to higher social status. He carries no obviously ethnic markers, no religious medals, no Italian language materials, no family photographs that might reveal his immigrant origins. This studied neutrality represents a survival strategy learned during the darkest days of anti-immigrant hysteria, when being identifiably foreign could result in job loss, police harassment, or physical violence from vigilante groups claiming to defend American values. The conversation fragments Joe overhears during the 20-minute ride reveal the complex anxieties shaping American working-class life in 1923. Veterans discuss the American Legion's latest campaign against un-American influences in labor unions, their voices carrying the authority of men who earned their citizenship through military service. Factory workers debate the merits of installment buying for automobiles and radios, weighing the allure of consumer goods against the dangers of debt. Mothers worry about their children's exposure to jazz music and Hollywood movies, fearing that American popular culture threatens traditional moral values. Yet beneath these surface conversations lies a deeper current of change that few dare discuss openly. The war created unprecedented opportunities for social mobility, but also established new hierarchies based on military service, English fluency, and visible displays of patriotic loyalty. Immigrant families who prospered during wartime production now face the challenge of maintaining their economic gains while proving their political reliability to suspicious neighbours and employers. The result is a community-wide performance of Americanism that requires constant vigilance and frequent compromise with personal values and cultural identity. As the train approaches Joe's station in the industrial district of Brooklyn, the passengers begin the subtle sorting process that characterizes American social relations. Veterans and native-born workers exit with confident strides, secure in their right to occupy public space without justification. Immigrants move more carefully, checking that they carry proper identification and avoiding any behavior that might attract unwanted attention. The physical act of leaving the train car has become a daily rehearsal for navigating a society that simultaneously welcomes immigrant labour while questioning immigrant loyalty. The subway station walls display recruitment posters for night school English classes, citizenship preparation courses, and Americanization programs sponsored by industrial corporations and patriotic organizations. Learn English, earn more money, and American citizenship, your pathway. To success promise economic advancement through cultural assimilation. Joe studies these advertisements with the careful attention of a man calculating the cost of advancement, understanding that his family's future depends on mastering not just the English language, but the complex codes of American social performance. Emerging from the underground into the industrial landscape of Brooklyn's factory district, Joe confronts the physical evidence of America's post-war economic boom. New construction sites dot the horizon, evidence of expanding manufacturing capacity designed to serve domestic rather than military markets. Automobile traffic, still mixed with horse-drawn vehicles, creates the distinctive sound of a society in technological transition. Electric signs advertise consumer goods with the aggressive optimism of a culture discovering the power of mass marketing to shape desires and drive economic growth. The walk from the subway station to his factory takes Joe through neighborhoods that house the full spectrum of immigrant experience in 1922nd America. Recent arrivals crowd into the oldest, most dilapidated buildings, their children speaking little English and their parents clinging to old country traditions as anchors against cultural displacement. Established families occupy better housing, their homes showing evidence of economic progress through small luxuries like radios, indoor plumbing, and store-bought furniture. The most successful have moved to newer neighborhoods where ethnic identity becomes a private matter rather than a public marker. This daily journey from home to work serves as more than transportation. To him, it functions as a daily education in American social geography and a reminder of the choices facing every immigrant family. Stay clustered in ethnic enclaves and risk being labelled as unassimilated troublemakers. Venture too boldly into mainstream American culture and face the loss of community support networks that provide security during economic downturns or family crises. The path Joe walks each morning literally maps the terrain of assimilation, with each block representing different strategies for balancing ethnic identity with American advancement. As he approaches the factory entrance, Joe mentally prepares for another day of careful performance. His success depends not only on industrial productivity, but on demonstrating the political reliability and cultural conformity that post-war America demands from its foreign-born workers. The morning commute has served its purpose, transforming Giuseppe Romano Jr., son of Italian immigrants, into Joe Romano, American factory worker ready to contribute to the national prosperity while proving his worthiness for acceptance into the mainstream society that remains tantalizingly within reach. The Acme Automotive Parts Factory occupies a massive brick building that exemplifies American industrial ambition in the post-war boom. Built in 1919 with profits from military contracts, the facility represents the cutting edge of modern manufacturing, electric lighting throughout, steam heating, mechanized ventilation systems, and the latest assembly line technology imported from Detroit's automobile plants. For Joe Romano and hundreds of other workers, it offers steady employment at wages that would have seemed fantastical to their parents' generation, but at the cost of submitting to new forms of workplace control that extend far beyond simple labor supervision. As Joe punches his time card at exactly 7:45 a.m., tardiness results in wage penalties that few families can afford. He joins the river of workers flowing toward their assigned stations. The factory employs nearly 800 men and women, representing a carefully orchestrated mixture of ethnic groups, skill levels, and political affiliations designed to prevent the kind of unified labor organizing that characterized the strike wave of 1919 to 1920. Management has learned from those turbulent years that workplace stability requires not just economic incentives, but active cultivation of worker loyalty through both opportunity and surveillance. The assembly line where Joe works produces carburetor components for Ford Motor Company. Repetitive work that requires manual dexterity but little independent decision-making. His station partners include Mike Kowalski, a Polish-American veteran whose military service earned him respect from supervisors, and Rosa Benedetto, one of the Italian-American women whose wartime factory experience opened industrial employment to female workers. Their working relationship illustrates both the possibilities and limitations of the new industrial democracy cooperation across ethnic lines in service of shared economic goals, but within strict boundaries established by management policies designed to prevent political organizing. The work itself has been scientifically analyzed according to the efficiency principles that transformed American manufacturing during the war years. Time and motion studies have determined the optimal pace for each task, and production quotas ensure that workers maintain steady output without the collective bargaining power that might emerge from traditional craft skills. Joe installs the same component every 45 seconds throughout his shift, a rhythm that becomes hypnotic but also alienating as individual craftsmanship disappears into mechanized production. Supervisor Frank Sullivan patrols the factory floor with the authority of a man whose Irish background and military service provide unquestioned credentials for leadership positions unavailable to more recent immigrants. His management style reflects the paternalistic approach that many corporations adopted in response to post-war labor unrest, offering benefits and advancement opportunities to loyal workers while maintaining strict discipline against anyone suspected of radical sympathies. Sullivan knows each worker's family situation, immigration status, and political affiliations, information that enables him to reward compliance and punish deviation from company expectations. The factory's employee welfare program represents the new corporate liberalism emerging in 1922nd America. Company-sponsored English classes meet during lunch hours, teaching not just language skills, but American social values and proper workplace behavior. A company nurse provides basic medical care, reducing absenteeism while creating employee dependence on corporate benevolence. The factory cafeteria serves subsidized meals that introduce immigrant workers to American dietary habits, while providing a controlled social environment where management can observe worker interactions and identify potential troublemakers. During the morning shift, Joe observes the complex social dynamics that characterize his workplace. Veterans like Mike Kowalski enjoy informal privileges, slightly longer break times, first consideration for overtime assignments, tolerance for minor infractions that would result in discipline for immigrant workers. Their military service provides a form of social insurance, making them valuable employees whose loyalty to American values cannot be questioned. This creates a hierarchy that reinforces rather than challenges ethnic prejudices. As foreign-born workers understand that advancement requires not just competence, but access to the cultural credentials that only native birth or military service can provide. The presence of women workers, like Rosa Benedetto, reflects the permanent changes that the Great War brought to American industrial life. Female employment, initially justified as temporary wartime necessity, has continued as manufacturers discovered that women could perform many factory tasks at lower wages than male workers. However, these opportunities come with strict moral supervision designed to preserve traditional gender roles, even within modern industrial settings. Women workers face dress codes, behavior monitoring, and social restrictions that male employees do not encounter, reflecting society's anxiety about female independence and economic autonomy. The factory's Americanization program extends beyond formal classes to encompass every aspect of the work environment. English-only policies prohibit workers from speaking their native languages during work hours, ostensibly for safety reasons, but actually to prevent the kind of ethnic solidarity that might challenge management authority. Company bulletin boards display patriotic messages alongside production targets, reinforcing the connection between industrial productivity and national loyalty. Workers are encouraged to purchase war bonds and participate in company-sponsored civic activities that demonstrate their commitment to American values. Joe's morning routine includes careful attention to these unwritten rules of workplace behavior. He greets supervisors with enthusiastic respect, volunteers for overtime assignments, and participates in company social activities despite their interference with family time. These performances of loyalty are essential for advancement, but they also create internal tension as he balances the demands of Americanization with his family's expectations that he maintain ethnic identity and community connections. The result is a carefully managed double consciousness that characterizes the immigrant experience in post-war industrial America. The production technology itself reinforces management control over the work process. Unlike the skilled craftsmanship that characterized earlier manufacturing, assembly line work breaks complex tasks into simple, repetitive motions that can be learned quickly but offer little opportunity for worker creativity or independence. This de-skilling process makes individual workers easily replaceable while requiring them to submit to mechanical rhythms that prioritize efficiency over human comfort. Joe's mastery of his assigned task brings no special recognition, as the system is designed to minimize the importance of individual skill or initiative. Quality control inspections occur throughout the afternoon shift, performed by American-born workers whose high school education and English fluency qualify them for positions that immigrant workers can aspire to but rarely achieve without exceptional demonstrated loyalty to company values. These inspectors move through the factory floor with clipboards and measuring instruments, checking both product quality and worker performance in ways that blur the line between industrial supervision and social surveillance. Joe has learned to maintain friendly but respectful relations with Inspector William Hayes, whose Irish Catholic background and evening college courses represent the kind of advancement that might be possible for immigrant workers who successfully navigate the complex requirements of American industrial citizenship. The factory's ventilation system, installed as part of the post-war modernization program, provides relatively clean air compared to the industrial conditions that Joe's father endured during his early years in American manufacturing. However, the afternoon heat and mechanical noise create physical stress that accumulates throughout the shift, requiring workers to develop endurance and concentration that goes beyond simple technical skill. The company nurse makes regular rounds to check on worker health and provide minor medical treatment, but her primary function is maintaining productivity by preventing absenteeism rather than ensuring worker comfort. The afternoon's work also includes moments of informal education as experienced workers share knowledge about American social customs, economic opportunities, and political expectations with newer immigrants like Sal Torino. These conversations, conducted in whispers between the mechanical sounds of production, provide practical guidance about navigation strategies for success in post-war America. Mike Kowalski explains the importance of joining patriotic organizations, maintaining clean appearance standards, and avoiding any behavior that might be interpreted as radical or un-American. Rosa Benedetto shares insights about acceptable forms of female independence and the social boundaries that working women must observe to maintain respectability. The company's Americanization program extends into the afternoon shift through English language signs, patriotic posters, and bulletin board announcements about citizenship classes and civic activities. Workers are encouraged to participate in company-sponsored social events that demonstrate their integration into American community life, while providing management with opportunities to observe worker attitudes and identify potential leaders or troublemakers. Joe has learned to volunteer for these activities despite their interference with family time, understanding that visible participation in American social life is essential for advancement opportunities. The afternoon shift reveals the physical toll of industrial work through the gradual accumulation of fatigue, minor injuries, and repetitive stress that characterize assembly line production. Joe's hands develop calluses and small cuts from handling metal components, while his back and shoulders ache from maintaining the same posture throughout the 8-hour shift. These occupational hazards are accepted as the price of steady employment, but they also serve as daily reminders of the physical demands that industrial prosperity requires from working-class families. Production quotas increase during the afternoon shift as supervisors push to meet daily targets that determine both company profits and worker bonus payments. This creates a tension between speed and safety that workers must navigate carefully, as accidents can result in injury compensation, claims that management seeks to minimize through safety programs that emphasize worker responsibility rather than industrial hazards. Joe has witnessed several accidents during his 2 years at the factory. Incidents that resulted in workers being blamed for carelessness rather than management being held responsible for dangerous working conditions. The factory's time management system extends beyond simple clock watching to include monitoring of break times, bathroom visits, and any other activities that might reduce productive work. Supervisors carry stopwatches and maintain records of individual worker efficiency that become part of personnel files used for promotion decisions and disciplinary actions. This constant surveillance creates an atmosphere where workers must demonstrate continuous productivity while maintaining the appearance of contentment with their working conditions. The afternoon also provides opportunities for informal union discussion, though such conversations must be conducted with extreme caution given the political climate following the failed strikes of 1919 to 1920. A few workers quietly discuss the possibility of organizing for better wages or working conditions, but these conversations are quickly discouraged by warnings about company surveillance and the risk of being labeled as radicals or troublemakers. The result is a workforce that accepts current conditions while harboring private grievances that cannot be safely expressed through collective action. As the afternoon progresses toward the end of the shift, workers begin the mental transition from industrial citizenship to family responsibilities. Joe calculates his weekly earnings based on productivity bonuses and overtime opportunities, planning how to allocate his income between family expenses, personal advancement investments, and savings for future security. These calculations require balancing immediate family needs against long-term assimilation goals, a complex process that characterizes the immigrant experience in prosperous but demanding post-war America. The factory's closing routine begins 30 minutes before the end of shift whistle, as workers clean their stations, maintain their equipment, and prepare their work areas for the next day's production. This process emphasizes the collective responsibility that all employees share for maintaining the industrial efficiency that enables both company profits and worker prosperity. Joe takes pride in leaving his station in perfect condition, understanding that such attention to detail demonstrates the reliability and conscientiousness that supervisors value in immigrant workers seeking advancement opportunities. The afternoon shift concludes with the 5 p.m. whistle that releases workers into the evening routine of family life, community obligations, and personal development activities that constitute the other half of immigrant existence in 1922nd America. As Joe punches his time card and joins the flow of workers leaving the factory, he carries with him the physical fatigue and economic satisfaction of another day's productive labor, along with the complex social insights and political awareness that industrial citizenship requires in a society that offers both unprecedented opportunity and demanding requirements for cultural conformity. The evening commute from factory to home provides Joe Romano with a daily education in the cultural revolution that is transforming American society during the Roaring Twenties. The subway platform at 5:15 p.m. buzzes with the energy of workers, shoppers, and pleasure seekers, whose diverse destinations reflect the expanding opportunities for leisure and consumption that characterize post-war prosperity. Joe purchases his evening paper from the same newsstand where he bought his morning edition. But the evening headlines focus on entertainment, sports, and consumer news rather than the political tensions that dominate morning journalism. The subway car fills with a different crowd than the morning commute. Factory workers like himself mixed with office employees, shop girls from department stores, and young people dressed for evening entertainment in ways that would have scandalized their parents' generation. Joe observes young women wearing knee-length skirts, short-sleeved blouses, and cosmetics that announce their economic independence and social freedom. Their conversations about movies, dance halls, and weekend automobile trips reveal a generation that takes prosperity for granted, while embracing cultural changes that older immigrants view with alarm and confusion. The evening newspaper provides Joe with his daily lesson in American popular culture and consumer expectations. Advertisements for automobiles, radios, and household appliances promise not just convenience, but social status and family happiness through material consumption. Department store advertisements feature the latest fashions from Paris and New York, making style accessible to working-class women who earn their own wages. Movie theatre listings showcase the latest films starring Mary Pickford, Douglas Fairbanks, and Charlie Chaplin, offering entertainment that creates shared cultural experiences across ethnic and class boundaries. As the train moves through different neighborhoods, Joe observes the physical evidence of America's rapid social transformation. New construction includes apartment buildings designed for nuclear families rather than extended immigrant households, reflecting the breakdown of traditional family structures as second-generation Americans seek independence from parental authority. Electric signs advertise consumer goods with the aggressive optimism of a culture discovering the power of mass marketing to shape desires and create new definitions of success and happiness. The evening commute also reveals the complex relationship between prosperity and anxiety that characterizes working-class life during the 1922nd. Conversations around him include discussions of installment debt, job security concerns, and family tensions over changing social values. A young Italian-American woman argues with her mother about attending a dance hall, while a Polish-American father worries about his son's interest in jazz music and pursuit of higher education that might separate him from family traditions and community connections. Joe's own reflections during the commute focus on the choices facing his family as they navigate between ethnic identity and American advancement. His brother Antonio's enthusiasm for American popular culture creates tension with their parents' expectations that family success should strengthen rather than weaken community connections. His girlfriend, Maria Gianelli's job as a department store clerk, provides her with economic independence and exposure to American fashion trends that complicate traditional expectations about marriage and family roles. The subway stops in different neighborhoods provide glimpses of the various strategies that immigrant families employ for achieving American success. In established Italian neighborhoods, families maintain traditional social structures while adapting to American economic opportunities. In newer mixed neighborhoods, immigrant families live alongside native-born Americans in settings that require constant negotiation of cultural boundaries and social expectations. In the most prosperous areas, successful immigrant families have achieved material success that enables them to participate in mainstream American culture while maintaining private connections to ethnic traditions. The evening commute includes encounters with the entertainment industry that has become central to American cultural life during the 1922nd. Street vendors sell sheet music for the latest popular songs, while newspaper boys hawk editions featuring sports scores, movie reviews, and society news that creates a shared national conversation about leisure and celebrity. Joe observes young people discussing the latest dance crazes, fashion trends, and Hollywood gossip with an enthusiasm that reflects their complete comfort with American popular culture. The train car itself serves as a laboratory for observing the social changes that are reshaping American family life. Young couples engage in public displays of affection that would have been considered scandalous just a few years earlier, while older passengers express their disapproval through disapproving glances and whispered comments. Women smoke cigarettes openly, demonstrating a freedom that symbolizes broader changes in gender roles and social expectations. The casual mixing of men and women in public spaces reflects the breakdown of traditional chaperoning customs and the emergence of new forms of courtship and social interaction. Joe's evening newspaper reading provides information about the political and economic forces that are driving cultural change. Articles about immigration restrictions, labor relations, and economic policy reveal the tensions between traditional American values and the demands of modern industrial society. Business leaders promote consumer spending as patriotic duty, while warning against foreign influences and radical ideas. Politicians appeal to both prosperity and anxiety, promising continued economic growth while defending traditional moral values against modern corrupting influences. The commute home also includes observations of the technological changes that are revolutionizing daily life for working-class families. Automobile traffic competes with trolley cars and elevated trains, representing the transportation revolution that is making suburban living possible for families with steady industrial wages. Electric street lighting extends the hours available for commercial and social activities, while radio antennas on apartment buildings indicate the growing influence of mass communication in shaping public opinion and cultural values. As the train approaches Joe's neighborhood, the passengers gradually sort themselves according to ethnic and economic categories that continue to structure American social life despite the democratizing effects of industrial prosperity. Italian-American families cluster together, speaking their native language and discussing community news in ways that maintain ethnic solidarity while adapting to American circumstances. Irish-American families demonstrate their more complete assimilation through confident use of public space and casual assumption of social privileges. Recent immigrants remain quiet and watchful, learning American social customs through careful observation of more established residents. The evening commute concludes as Joe emerges from the subway into his own neighborhood, where the familiar sights and sounds of Italian-American community life provide both comfort and limitation. The streets, filled with children playing games that combine American and Italian traditions, older men discussing politics and sports in animated mixtures of English and Italian, and women shopping for dinner ingredients that will create meals reflecting both ethnic heritage and American prosperity. This neighborhood represents both the security of ethnic community and the constraints that might prevent full participation in mainstream American success. The walk from the subway station to his family's apartment takes Joe past the various institutions that serve Italian-American community needs, while facilitating adaptation to American society. The local Catholic Church offers services in Italian, but also sponsors citizenship classes and English lessons. The neighborhood bank provides financial services while teaching immigrant families about American consumer credit and investment opportunities. The local political club maintains connections to the Democratic Party while preserving ethnic solidarity and mutual assistance traditions. As Joe approaches his building, he carries with him the complex impressions and social insights gathered during his evening commute. The daily journey from factory to home serves as education in the rapidly changing American society that offers both unprecedented opportunities and challenging demands for cultural adaptation. His observations of fashion, entertainment, technology, and social behavior provide practical guidance for navigating the choices that will determine his family's success in achieving the prosperity and acceptance that define the American dream in the Roaring Twenties. Joe Romano climbs the 4 flights of stairs to his family's apartment, each step carrying him deeper into the complex cultural negotiations that characterize immigrant family life during America's most transformative decade. The building itself tells the story of Italian-American adaptation to older tenement construction, now housing families whose wartime prosperity has enabled them to afford better living conditions while remaining within the ethnic community that provides security and mutual support. The sounds echoing through the stairwell mix Italian conversations with American popular music from radios that have become symbols of both economic advancement and cultural change. The Romano family apartment at 6:15 p.m. buzzes with the controlled energy of 4 adults, navigating the evening routine within limited space. Elena Romano stands at the gas stove preparing dinner, her movements efficient and economical as she combines Italian cooking traditions with American ingredients and appliances. The meal reflects the family's improved economic circumstances. Fresh meat from the local butcher rather than the cheaper cuts that characterized their early years in America, vegetables purchased from both Italian specialty shops and the new A&P grocery store that offers standardized American products at competitive prices. Giuseppe Sr. sits at the small kitchen table reading Il Progresso, the Italian language newspaper that maintains his connection to old country news and community affairs. His presence fills the apartment with the authority of a man who has successfully provided for his family during the difficult transition from agricultural Sicily to industrial America, but his limited English and Old World social expectations create daily tension with his son's embrace of American opportunities and cultural values. The newspaper serves as both information source and cultural barrier, reinforcing ethnic identity while potentially limiting full participation in mainstream American society. Antonio Romano enters the apartment with textbooks under his arm and excitement in his voice, fresh from his evening English class at the local high school. At 19, he represents the family's greatest hope for advancement into American professional life. But his enthusiasm for education and American culture creates anxiety for parents who fear that too much assimilation will weaken family bonds and community obligations. His homework assignments require family sacrifice, the kitchen table must be cleared for his studies, the family's social activities must accommodate his class schedule, and his part-time work earnings are invested in books and supplies rather than contributing fully to household expenses. The dinner preparation involves careful negotiation between Elena's traditional cooking methods and the expectations of sons who have developed American tastes through workplace cafeterias and social interactions. Tonight's meal includes pasta with meat sauce prepared according to Sicilian recipes, but also American bread, butter, and coffee that reflect the family's adaptation to local food customs. The grocery shopping that makes such meals possible requires Elena to navigate between Italian specialty shops, where she can communicate comfortably, and American chain stores, where prices are lower, but cultural understanding is limited. As the family gathers around the table, conversation flows between Italian and English with the natural complexity of immigrant families caught between cultural worlds. Elena speaks primarily Italian, maintaining the language of her childhood, while struggling with English vocabulary that would enable fuller participation in American community life. Giuseppe Sr. has learned enough English for workplace communication, but prefers Italian for family discussions about important matters. Antonio responds in English even to Italian questions, demonstrating both his linguistic achievement and his psychological distance from old country traditions. Joe's role as cultural translator extends beyond language to encompass the broader process of interpreting American social expectations for parents who lack direct experience with mainstream society. Tonight's conversation includes his explanation of workplace dynamics, American holiday customs, and the economic opportunities available to families who successfully navigate the requirements of post-war prosperity. His parents listen with the careful attention of people whose children's success depends on understanding a society that remains partially mysterious despite 15 years of residence. The evening meal provides opportunities for family members to share their daily experiences while negotiating the cultural tensions that characterize immigrant adaptation. Elena describes her interactions with American social workers who visit the neighborhood to promote proper child-rearing practices and household management techniques. These well-intentioned reformers offer advice about nutrition, hygiene, and family budgeting that conflicts with traditional Italian methods while promising improved outcomes for families willing to adopt American standards. Giuseppe Sr. shares workplace news that reveals the complex relationship between ethnic solidarity and American advancement. His Italian-American co-workers at the shipyard maintain mutual support networks that provide job security and community assistance, but they also face pressure to demonstrate patriotic loyalty through participation in company-sponsored Americanization programs. The balance between ethnic identity and American acceptance requires constant adjustment as political winds shift and economic opportunities change. Antonio's contributions to dinner conversation focus on his educational experiences and career aspirations that represent both family pride and potential family separation. His English classes expose him to American literature, history, and social values that broaden his horizons while creating psychological distance from parents whose limited education restricts their ability to understand his intellectual development. His dream of attending college requires family financial sacrifice, while potentially leading him away from the Italian-American community where his success might benefit extended family and neighborhood connections. The family radio, purchased last year with overtime earnings from Giuseppe Sr.'s shipyard work, provides background entertainment that introduces American popular culture into the domestic space where Italian traditions have historically dominated. Tonight's programming includes dance music that Antonio enjoys, but that Elena considers morally questionable, news broadcasts that Giuseppe Sr. struggles to understand completely, and advertisements for consumer products that create family discussions about spending priorities and social expectations. The dinner table conversation also addresses the practical challenges of maintaining Italian cultural practices within American social contexts. Plans for upcoming religious celebrations must accommodate work schedules and American social expectations while preserving the community connections that provide emotional and economic security. Wedding invitations, baptism ceremonies, and funeral obligations require balancing ethnic traditions with American social customs in ways that satisfy both community expectations and mainstream social requirements. Elena's concerns about her son's social activities reflect the broader anxiety that characterizes immigrant parents watching their children navigate American youth culture. Joe's relationship with Maria Gianelli raises questions about traditional courtship practices, wedding expenses, and extended family obligations that must be negotiated within American legal and social frameworks. Antonio's friendships with American-born classmates expose him to social activities and cultural values that may conflict with family expectations about respectful behavior and community loyalty. The family's economic planning requires constant negotiation between immediate needs and long-term advancement goals. Giuseppe Sr. Steady wages from shipyard work provide the foundation for family security, but additional income from Joe's factory work and Antonio's part-time employment must be allocated between current expenses and investments in future opportunities. The purchase decisions facing the family, new furniture, better clothing, improved housing, carry implications that extend beyond simple consumption to encompass social positioning and cultural identity. The dinner conversation reveals the complex relationship between individual advancement and family solidarity that characterizes immigrant experience in prosperous but demanding post-war America. Each family member's success requires personal adaptation to American social expectations, but such adaptation can weaken the ethnic community networks that provide security during economic downturns or personal crises. The result is a constant balancing act between assimilation and preservation, advancement and loyalty, individual opportunity, and collective responsibility. As the meal concludes and family members prepare for evening activities, the dinner table has served as more than a place for nourishment. It has functioned as a daily forum for cultural negotiation where Italian traditions encounter American expectations in ways that will determine the family's trajectory through the complex social landscape of 1922nd America. The conversations, compromises, and conflicts that characterize these family dinners represent the intimate personal costs and benefits of the immigrant experience during the nation's most dynamic decade. The Romano family's evening activities begin with the careful choreography required when 4 adults share limited space while pursuing individual interests that reflect their different relationships to American culture. Joe changes from his work clothes into a clean shirt and pressed trousers, preparing for an evening that will combine ethnic community obligations with American social activities. His appearance must satisfy both Italian neighborhood standards for respectful dress and American expectations for fashionable style, a dual requirement that characterizes most aspects of immigrant social life during the Roaring Twenties. Elena Romano begins her evening routine of household management that extends far beyond simple domestic duties to encompass community networking and cultural preservation. Tonight, she will visit Mrs. Benedetto, whose daughter Rosa works alongside Joe at the factory, to discuss marriage prospects, family news, and community concerns that maintain the informal support systems crucial to immigrant family survival. These women's networks provide practical assistance during emergencies while preserving Italian social customs and moral standards that might otherwise disappear under the pressure of American assimilation. Giuseppe Signor joins a group of Italian-American men who gather each evening in DeMarco's Social Club, a converted storefront that serves as headquarters for community political activities, mutual assistance organizing, and cultural preservation efforts. Tonight's discussion will focus on the upcoming local elections, where Italian-American voters must navigate between Democratic Party loyalty and ethnic community interests. The club provides a space where men can speak Italian freely while planning strategies for advancing immigrant concerns within American political frameworks. Antonio Romano heads to the local branch library where he studies for his citizenship examination while participating in an informal discussion group of young immigrants preparing for American civic participation. These evening study sessions combine practical preparation for naturalization requirements with broader education about American political principles, economic opportunities, and social expectations. The library serves as neutral ground where ethnic diversity is encouraged within an explicitly American institutional context. Joe's own evening plans reflect the complex social navigation required of young Italian Americans seeking to maintain family connections while participating in American social life. He will meet Maria Gianelli at her family's apartment for a supervised visit that respects traditional Italian courtship customs while allowing the relationship development that American social expectations require. Later, they may attend a movie at the local theater, an activity that demonstrates their participation in American popular culture while providing opportunities for the kind of informal social interaction that Italian tradition historically discouraged. The walk through the neighborhood to Maria's apartment takes Joe past the various institutions that serve Italian-American community needs while facilitating adaptation to American society. The local Catholic Church advertises both traditional Italian religious observances and English language citizenship classes. The Italian-American Bank promotes both ethnic solidarity through community investment and American financial practices through consumer credit and mortgage lending. The neighborhood Democratic Party headquarters displays both Italian and American flags while organizing immigrant voters around both ethnic interests and mainstream political issues. Street life in the Italian-American neighborhood provides daily lessons in the cultural changes that are reshaping immigrant communities during the prosperous 1922nd. Children play games that combine Italian traditions with American innovations, their conversations mixing languages with the fluent bilingualism that characterizes the second generation. Young women walk in groups, their clothing and behavior reflecting the new freedoms available to working women while respecting community standards that protect family reputations. Older residents maintain front stoop conversations that provide informal social control while adapting to American urban rhythms and legal requirements. The Gianelli family apartment serves as a laboratory for observing how Italian families negotiate traditional social customs within American social contexts. Maria's parents maintain strict supervision over their daughter's courtship, while recognizing that American marriage customs require more independence and personal choice than old country traditions typically allowed. The evening visit involves formal conversation in the family's main room, where Joe must demonstrate both respectful behavior toward Maria's parents and attractive personal qualities that make him a suitable husband according to both Italian and American standards. The conversation with Maria's family reveals the complex economic calculations that characterize immigrant family planning during the post-war period. Marriage requires not just emotional compatibility, but careful coordination of family resources, career plans, and community obligations that will determine the couple's social position and economic prospects. Joe's steady factory employment provides the foundation for family security, but marriage also requires housing arrangements, household furnishing, and social entertaining that must be balanced against savings, goals, and extended family responsibilities. Maria Gianelli herself represents the new Italian-American woman emerging during the 922nd, economically independent through her department store job, culturally sophisticated through exposure to American fashion and entertainment, but still connected to family traditions that provide emotional security and community identity. Her conversation reveals the tensions facing young women who must balance personal desires with family expectations while navigating American social opportunities that previous generations could not have imagined. The decision to attend a movie represents a small but significant step in the Americanization process, as it requires the couple to engage with mass entertainment that creates shared cultural experiences across ethnic boundaries, while potentially exposing them to values and behaviors that conflict with traditional Italian social customs. Tonight's film, a romantic comedy featuring popular American actors, provides entertainment while serving as education in American courtship practices, gender roles, and social expectations. The movie theatre itself serves as a democratic space where working-class immigrants can participate in the same cultural experiences available to more prosperous Americans, demonstrating the democratizing effects of mass entertainment, while potentially weakening ethnic cultural traditions. The theatre audience includes Italian, Irish, Jewish, and American families whose shared laughter and emotional responses create temporary unity that transcends the ethnic divisions that characterize neighborhood social life. The film's content provides Joe and Maria with opportunities to discuss their own relationship within the context of American romantic ideals that emphasize individual choice, emotional compatibility, and personal happiness over the family economic considerations that traditionally determined Italian marriage arrangements. These discussions require them to negotiate between American expectations for romantic love and Italian traditions that emphasize family stability, community connections, and economic security. After the movie, the couple joins other young Italian Americans at Rossi's ice cream parlor, where social interaction occurs under community supervision while allowing the informal conversation and relationship development that American courtship customs require. The ice cream parlor provides a respectable venue for mixed-gender socializing while maintaining the visibility that preserves family reputations and community moral standards. The conversations overheard at nearby tables reveal other couples navigating similar challenges of balancing tradition with innovation, family loyalty with personal desires. The evening's social activities also include encounters with the broader American culture that is increasingly influencing immigrant community life. Popular music from the ice cream parlor's radio introduces Italian-American young people to jazz rhythms and romantic lyrics that shape their expectations about love, marriage, and personal fulfillment. Fashion advertisements in shop windows expose them to style trends that influence their self-presentation and social aspirations. Political discussions among other customers reveal the broader American concerns that affect immigrant communities through economic policies, social programs, and cultural movements. As the evening concludes, with Joe walking Maria home through neighborhoods that mix Italian cultural preservation with American social adaptation, their conversation focuses on the future they hope to create together. Their plans must accommodate both sets of family expectations while taking advantage of American economic opportunities and social freedoms that previous generations could not have accessed. The balance they seek between tradition and innovation, community and independence, reflects the broader challenges facing all immigrant families during America's most dynamic decade. The walk home provides Joe with time to reflect on the complex social dynamics he has observed during the evening. The Italian-American community provides security, identity, and mutual support that enable immigrant families to prosper in American society but it also imposes obligations and restrictions that can limit individual advancement and personal freedom. The successful navigation of these competing demands requires constant negotiation, cultural flexibility, and strategic thinking that characterizes the immigrant experience during the Roaring Twenties. Joe Romano's return to his family's apartment at 9:45 p.m. marks the beginning of the evening's most contemplative period, when the day's experiences crystallize into the strategic insights that will guide his family's continued navigation of American social and economic opportunities. The building's common areas buzz with the subdued activity of immigrant families concluding their daily routines, children being prepared for bed, adults engaging in the quiet conversations that maintain community connections, and elderly residents sharing news and gossip that keeps the neighborhood informed about opportunities, challenges, and changes affecting their shared welfare. The Romano apartment itself serves as headquarters for the complex financial and social planning that characterizes immigrant family management during the prosperous but uncertain 1922nd. Elena Romano sits at the kitchen table with papers spread before her, household expense records, savings account statements, and letters from relatives in Sicily that require careful responses about American opportunities and Italian obligations. Her evening routine involves reconciling the day's expenditures with the family's longer-term goals for economic advancement and social positioning within both Italian-American and mainstream American communities. Giuseppe Sr. reviews his paycheck and overtime earnings while calculating the family's progress toward goals that require balancing immediate needs against future investments. The purchase of a radio represented 6 months of overtime wages, but it also provided the family with access to American news, entertainment, and cultural programming that facilitates their assimilation while offering relaxation after long days of industrial labor. Tonight's calculations focus on whether the family can afford to move to a better apartment in a mixed neighborhood where ethnic identity would be less visible, but community support networks might be weaker. Antonio Romano spreads his citizenship study materials across his corner of the kitchen table, reviewing American history and government principles, while practicing the English pronunciation that will be tested during his naturalization interview. His evening study routine represents the family's investment in American civic participation, but it also creates tension as his growing fluency in American political discourse sometimes conflicts with Italian family traditions about respect for authority and community harmony. Tonight's lesson focuses on American democratic principles that emphasize individual rights over collective responsibilities. The family radio provides background programming that introduces American popular culture into the domestic space where Italian traditions have historically dominated. Tonight's programming includes dance music that reflects the cultural revolution occurring among American young people, news broadcasts about national politics and economic developments, and advertisements for consumer products that create ongoing discussions about family spending priorities and social aspirations. The radio serves as both entertainment and education, connecting the Romano family to the broader American society they seek to join, while potentially weakening the ethnic community bonds that provide security and identity. Joe's own evening routine includes reading the newspaper sections he didn't have time to examine during his commute, focusing on employment advertisements, real estate listings, and news about immigration policy that might affect his family's long-term prospects. The evening paper provides more detailed coverage of national developments than morning editions, including analysis of economic trends, political movements, and social changes that will influence the opportunities available to immigrant families seeking advancement. Tonight's lead articles discuss the continuing prosperity of American industry and the expanding consumer markets that provide employment for families like his own. The apartment building's social dynamics become most visible during the evening hours when residents encounter each other in hallways, stairwells, and the shared courtyard where children play under parental supervision. These informal interactions maintain the community networks that provide practical assistance, social support, and cultural continuity for immigrant families adapting to American urban life. Joe observes Mrs. Benedetto consulting with Mrs. Torino about job opportunities for their sons, while Mr. DeMarco discusses local political developments with other men whose votes represent a small but potentially significant bloc in neighborhood elections. The evening also provides opportunities for Joe to consider the marriage decisions that will determine his personal and economic future within the complex framework of Italian-American community expectations and American social opportunities. His relationship with Maria Gianelli requires careful coordination between two families whose prosperity depends on successful navigation of ethnic traditions and American social requirements. The economic calculations involved in marriage planning include not just immediate wedding expenses, but long-term considerations about housing, child rearing, and extended family obligations that will influence their social position and community standing. Community news circulates through the evening social networks that connect Italian-American families across neighborhood boundaries and employment sectors. Tonight's information includes reports about job opportunities at construction projects, news about successful citizenship applications, gossip about families who have moved to better neighborhoods, and warnings about immigration enforcement activities that might affect vulnerable community members. This informal communication system provides practical guidance while reinforcing the ethnic solidarity that enables collective advancement despite individual competition. The evening conversations also address the cultural tensions that characterize Italian-American family life during the rapidly changing 1922nd. Parents worry about their children's exposure to American popular culture that challenges traditional moral values and social customs. Young people seek greater independence and self-expression while maintaining family connections that provide economic security and emotional support. The negotiations required to balance these competing demands create ongoing family discussions about acceptable forms of Americanization and appropriate limits on cultural adaptation. Joe's reflections on the day's experiences reveal the complex psychological work required to maintain Italian cultural identity while pursuing American economic and social advancement. His workplace requires demonstration of patriotic loyalty and cultural conformity that may conflict with family traditions and community obligations. His romantic relationship must satisfy both American expectations for individual choice and Italian requirements for family approval and community respect. His economic planning must balance personal advancement goals with extended family responsibilities and ethnic community support networks. The neighborhood's evening rhythms also reflect the broader changes occurring in American urban life during the post-war period. Electric lighting extends the hours available for social and commercial activities, while radio programming creates shared cultural experiences that transcend ethnic boundaries. Automobile traffic increases as working-class families gain access to transportation that enables them to live in better neighborhoods while maintaining employment in industrial districts. These technological and social changes provide opportunities while potentially weakening the close-knit community structures that have historically provided immigrant families with security and mutual support. The evening newspaper's coverage of national developments provides context for understanding the local changes that affect Italian-American community life. Articles about immigration restrictions, economic policy, and cultural movements reveal the political forces that will determine the opportunities and challenges facing immigrant families seeking full participation in American society. Tonight's analysis suggests that continued prosperity depends on successful adaptation to American social expectations while maintaining the family stability and community connections that enable collective advancement. As Joe prepares for bed in the apartment that represents his family's modest but meaningful success in achieving American prosperity, his evening reflections focus on the strategic choices that will determine their continued advancement. The balance between ethnic identity and American assimilation requires constant adjustment as circumstances change and opportunities emerge. The successful navigation of these competing demands will determine not only individual success, but the broader fate of Italian-American communities seeking full acceptance within American society during its most transformative decade. The Romano family's evening routine concludes with quiet preparations for sleep that reflect both Italian traditions of family prayer and American expectations for individual privacy and personal development. The day's experiences have provided education, challenges, and opportunities that will influence tomorrow's decisions about work, relationships, community involvement, and cultural adaptation. The evening's conversations, calculations, and reflections represent the intimate personal work that enables immigrant families to prosper in American society while preserving the cultural connections that provide meaning, security, and identity within the rapidly changing landscape of the Roaring Twenties. Saturday morning in the Romano household begins with a rhythm distinctly different from the weekday routine, as the absence of factory whistles and work schedules allows family members to pursue the leisure activities and community obligations that define Italian-American social life during the prosperous 1922nd. Joe awakens to the sounds of neighborhood children playing in the courtyard and the aroma of Elena's elaborate Saturday breakfast. 12. A weekly celebration that demonstrates the family's economic progress through the luxury of prosciutto, fresh eggs, bacon, and store-bought pastries that supplement her homemade bread. The Saturday meal serves as a family conference where the week's experiences are reviewed and weekend plans are coordinated according to the complex requirements of maintaining Italian cultural traditions while participating in American leisure activities. Giuseppe Segno announces his intention to spend the afternoon at DeMarco's Social Club, where Italian-American men gather for card games, political discussion, and the community networking that maintains ethnic solidarity while planning strategies for advancement within American political and economic systems. Elena's Saturday plans involve visiting her sister's family in a nearby neighborhood that has experienced greater prosperity and assimilation, providing opportunities to observe different strategies for balancing Italian identity with American social expectations. These sisterly visits serve multiple functions: maintaining extended family connections, sharing practical information about household management and child rearing, and evaluating the social costs and benefits of various approaches to cultural adaptation that will influence the Romano family's own decisions about future moves and lifestyle changes. Antonio Romano's Saturday schedule includes both citizenship study sessions at the local library and social activities with American-born classmates, whose friendship provides him with practical education in mainstream American social customs, while potentially creating psychological distance from Italian community traditions. His weekend activities must be carefully balanced to satisfy family expectations about respectful behavior and community loyalty, while allowing the cultural exploration that American educational and social opportunities require. Joe's own Saturday plans reflect the complex negotiations required of young Italian-American men seeking to maintain family connections while participating in American leisure activities that demonstrate successful assimilation. His morning will include helping his father with household maintenance tasks that strengthen family bonds while teaching practical skills, followed by an afternoon date with Maria Gianelli that must satisfy both Italian courtship traditions and American expectations for informal social interaction between unmarried couples. The neighborhood itself becomes a different place on Saturday, as the absence of weekday work schedules allows residents to engage in community activities that maintain ethnic cultural traditions while adapting to American urban leisure patterns. Street vendors sell Italian specialty foods alongside American ice cream and candy, while children play games that combine old country traditions with American innovations learned in public schools and neighborhood playgrounds. The morning's first major activity involves the family's weekly shopping expedition to the Italian market district, where Elena Romano conducts the careful negotiations between quality, price, and cultural authenticity that characterize immigrant consumer behavior during the prosperous 1922nd. The Italian butcher provides familiar cuts of meat prepared according to traditional methods, but his prices reflect the growing prosperity of the community and competition from American chain stores that offer standardized products at lower costs. Elena's shopping decisions must balance family preferences for traditional foods with budget considerations and the practical advantages of American commercial convenience. Joe accompanies his mother on these shopping expeditions, serving as interpreter and cultural mediator when transactions require English language communication or negotiation with American business practices. His presence enables Elena to access better prices and services while maintaining her dignity as a family decision-maker whose limited English might otherwise restrict her options. These mother-son shopping trips also provide opportunities for Elena to share practical wisdom about household management while observing Joe's increasing comfort with American commercial culture. The Italian market district itself represents the complex adaptation strategies that characterize immigrant business development during the post-war period. Traditional Italian grocers stock imported specialty items, while expanding their inventory to include American packaged goods that appeal to second-generation customers with broader tastes and higher incomes. Italian-American entrepreneurs operate businesses that serve both ethnic community needs and mainstream American customers attracted by exotic foods and supposedly authentic cultural experiences. The Saturday morning shopping expedition also provides education in the economic changes that are transforming immigrant community life during the 1922nd. Installment buying plans make consumer goods accessible to families with steady wages, while consumer credit enables purchases that previous generations would have considered impossibly luxurious. Eleanor observes other families purchasing radios, phonographs, and household appliances that demonstrate their economic advancement, while potentially creating debt obligations that might prove dangerous during economic downturns. After the morning shopping, Joe joins his father for household maintenance activities that serve multiple functions beyond simple domestic necessity. These father-son work sessions provide opportunities for Giuseppe Sr. to share practical skills while maintaining his authority as family head. Despite his son's greater fluency in American social and economic systems. Today's project involves painting the apartment's kitchen, an investment in family comfort that also demonstrates the Romano family's commitment to maintaining respectable living standards that reflect their economic progress. The painting work enables private conversation between father and son that addresses sensitive topics difficult to discuss in the presence of other family members. Giuseppe Sr. shares his concerns about Antonio's enthusiasm for American culture and higher education, worrying that too much assimilation might weaken family bonds and community connections that provide security during economic difficulties. Joe's responses must balance respect for paternal authority with advocacy for his brother's educational opportunities and his own plans for economic advancement through strategic Americanization. The afternoon's entertainment program begins with Joe and Maria Gianelli's attendance at the local movie theatre, where they join other young Italian-American couples in consuming American popular culture while maintaining the supervised social interaction that preserves community moral standards. Today's film, a romantic drama featuring popular American actors, provides entertainment while serving as education in American social customs, gender roles, and cultural values that influence young people's expectations about marriage, family life, and personal fulfillment. The movie theatre experience itself demonstrates the democratization of leisure that characterizes American society during the prosperous 1922nd. Working-class immigrant families can now afford the same entertainment available to more established Americans, creating shared cultural experiences that transcend ethnic boundaries while potentially weakening traditional, community-based leisure activities. The theatre audience includes Italian, Irish, Jewish, and American families whose common laughter and emotional responses create temporary unity that contrasts with the ethnic divisions that structure neighborhood social life. After the movie, Joe and Maria join other young couples at Luna Park, the famous Coney Island amusement complex that represents the pinnacle of American leisure democratization during the Roaring Twenties. The park's mechanical rides, games of chance, and commercial entertainments provide thrills and social opportunities unavailable through traditional Italian community activities, while the mixed crowds and informal social atmosphere challenge old country customs about proper behavior for unmarried couples. The Coney Island experience exposes Joe and Maria to the full spectrum of American leisure culture, from the mechanical marvels that demonstrate American technological achievement to the commercial entertainment that creates new definitions of fun and social interaction. The crowds include families from every ethnic background and economic level, united by their shared participation in American consumer culture, while maintaining distinct cultural identities through language, dress, and behavior patterns that mark their community affiliations. The afternoon's leisure activities also include observations of the broader cultural changes that are reshaping American urban life during the 1922nd. Young women wear shorter skirts and more revealing clothing than traditional Italian standards would permit, while young men adopt fashion trends and behavioral patterns that emphasize individual expression over community conformity. The casual mixing of genders in public leisure spaces reflects the breakdown of traditional chaperoning customs and the emergence of new forms of courtship that emphasize personal choice over family arrangement. The economic aspects of leisure consumption provide Joe and Maria with practical education in American commercial culture, while raising questions about spending priorities and financial management that will influence their future family planning. The cost of movie tickets, amusement park admissions, and refreshments represents a significant portion of Joe's weekly wages, but these expenses also demonstrate the couple's successful participation in American social life and their ability to afford the leisure activities that define middle-class status. The evening's entertainment concludes with dinner at an Italian-American restaurant that caters to families seeking to maintain ethnic food traditions while participating in American dining customs. The restaurant's menu combines traditional Italian dishes with American adaptations designed to appeal to broader customer base, while the dining room atmosphere attempts to recreate old country social customs within American commercial frameworks. The meal provides opportunities for Joe and Maria to practice the formal dining behavior that American social advancement requires while maintaining connections to Italian cultural traditions. The restaurant experience also provides observations of other Italian-American families navigating similar challenges of balancing ethnic identity with American social expectations. Successful businessmen demonstrate their prosperity through expensive meals and fashionable clothing while maintaining Italian conversational patterns and family social structures. Young families experiment with American child-rearing practices while preserving Italian traditions about family loyalty and community responsibility. The Saturday evening social activities conclude with Joe walking Maria home through neighborhoods that showcase different strategies for Italian-American community development during the post-war period. Some blocks maintain concentrated ethnic identity through Italian language signs, traditional social customs, and resistance to American cultural influences. Other areas demonstrate greater assimilation through mixed populations, English language dominance, and adoption of American architectural and commercial patterns. As Joe returns to his own family's apartment, he carries with him the complex impressions and social insights gathered during a Saturday that combined Italian community traditions with American leisure opportunities. The day's experiences have provided education in consumer culture, popular entertainment, and social customs that will influence his family's strategies for advancement, while maintaining the cultural connections that provide security and identity within the rapidly changing American society of the Roaring Twenties. The weekend's leisure activities serve functions beyond simple entertainment, providing practical education in American social customs, while maintaining ethnic community connections that offer security and mutual support. The successful navigation of these competing demands requires constant negotiation between individual desires and family obligations, cultural preservation and social adaptation, economic advancement and community loyalty that characterizes the immigrant experience during America's most dynamic decade. Sunday morning, in the Romano household, begins with the careful preparations required for Catholic Mass attendance that serves multiple functions beyond simple religious observance in the complex social landscape of Italian-American community life during the 1922nd. The family's church-going routine involves decisions about clothing, language, and social behavior that demonstrate their respectability while navigating the tensions between Italian Catholic traditions and American expectations for immigrant assimilation that characterize religious practice in post-war urban America. Elena Romano rises early to prepare the family for an appearance at St. Anthony's Italian Catholic Church that must satisfy both religious devotion and community social requirements. Her selection of clothing for herself and supervision of her son's appearance reflects careful attention to American standards for respectful dress, while maintaining the modest comportment that Italian Catholic tradition demands from women. The morning routine includes preparation of a post-Mass meal that will accommodate potential visitors whose social obligations must be fulfilled according to old country hospitality customs adapted to American urban circumstances. The walk to church takes the Romano family through neighborhood streets that reveal the full complexity of Italian-American religious and social organization during the prosperous but politically tense 1922. St. Anthony's Church serves not only as a center for Catholic worship, but as headquarters for community political activities, mutual assistance programs, and cultural preservation efforts that maintain ethnic solidarity while facilitating adaptation to American social and economic systems. The church building itself reflects the architectural ambitions of Italian-American communities that have achieved sufficient prosperity to construct substantial religious facilities while maintaining traditional Catholic aesthetic principles. The interior combines Italian artistic traditions with American construction methods and decorative materials, creating sacred space that honors old country religious customs while demonstrating successful adaptation to New World economic opportunities and social requirements. The congregation assembles according to informal social hierarchies that reflect both traditional Italian class distinctions and new American economic categories created by industrial prosperity and professional advancement. Successful Italian-American businessmen and their families occupy prominent pews near the altar, their expensive clothing and confident bearing demonstrating achievements that provide them with community leadership roles, while potentially creating distance from less prosperous parishioners who depend on their economic and political influence. Joe Romano observes these social dynamics with the careful attention of a young man whose own family's advancement depends on understanding the complex relationships between religious observance, community standing, and economic opportunity that characterize Italian-American social organization. His parents' position within the congregation reflects Giuseppe Sr.'s steady employment and the family's respectable living standards, but advancement to positions of real community influence would require additional achievements in business success, political connections, or professional status that remain beyond their current capabilities. The Mass itself is conducted in Latin with Italian language homilies that maintain connections to old country religious traditions while addressing contemporary issues that affect Italian-American community welfare. Father Benedetto's sermon today focuses on the importance of maintaining Catholic moral values while participating in American economic and social opportunities, a message that requires careful balance between religious orthodoxy and practical accommodation to American cultural expectations that may conflict with traditional Catholic social teaching. The religious service provides opportunities for community members to exchange information about employment opportunities, family news, and political developments that affect Italian-American interests within broader American society. These informal communications maintain the social networks that enable collective advancement while preserving ethnic solidarity against potential discrimination or economic pressures that might threaten individual families lacking community support systems. Joe's own religious practice reflects the complex psychological negotiations required of second-generation Italian Americans seeking to maintain family traditions while participating in American social life that often conflicts with Catholic moral teachings. His attendance at Mass satisfies family expectations and community obligations while providing him with opportunities to observe Maria Gianelli and other young women whose presence makes church attendance socially as well as religiously meaningful. The post-Mass social gathering in the church hall serves multiple community functions beyond simple fellowship, providing forums for political discussion, business networking, and cultural preservation activities that maintain Italian-American community organization while adapting to American institutional frameworks. Today's gathering includes presentations about citizenship preparation, discussions of local political candidates who support immigrant interests, and planning for cultural celebrations that preserve Italian traditions within American legal and social contexts. The church hall conversations reveal the complex political tensions that characterize Italian-American community life during the post-Red Scare period, when ethnic organizations face continuing suspicion from American authorities, while community members seek full participation in American political and economic systems. Community leaders must balance advocacy for immigrant interests with demonstrations of patriotic loyalty that satisfy American expectations, while maintaining ethnic solidarity that enables collective advancement and mutual protection. Joe participates in these community discussions with careful attention to the political dynamics that will influence his own opportunities for advancement within both Italian-American and mainstream American society. The community's political activities require balancing ethnic interests with American partisan loyalties, supporting candidates who favor immigrant concerns while avoiding association with radical political movements that might attract unwanted government attention or economic retaliation from suspicious employers. The Sunday morning church experience also provides education in the generational changes that are reshaping Italian-American religious and cultural practices during the rapidly evolving 1922nd. Older parishioners maintain strict adherence to traditional Catholic customs and Italian social hierarchies, while younger community members seek greater individual freedom and cultural adaptation that reflects their comfort with American social opportunities and secular entertainment options. The children present at Mass demonstrate the complex challenges facing Italian-American families attempting to preserve religious faith and ethnic identity, while encouraging educational and economic advancement that requires adaptation to American cultural values. Young people's behavior during religious services reflects their psychological position between Italian family expectations and American peer pressures that may conflict with Catholic moral teachings and traditional ethnic social customs. The Church's role as a community institution extends beyond religious functions to encompass social services, political advocacy, and cultural preservation activities that maintain Italian-American community organization while facilitating adaptation to American institutional requirements. The parish sponsors English language classes, citizenship preparation programs, and youth activities that serve assimilation functions while preserving Catholic religious identity and ethnic community connections. Father Benedetto's leadership role requires navigation of complex religious and political pressures that characterize Catholic institutional life during the 1922nd, when American nativism conflicts with Catholic international connections, while Italian-American communities seek acceptance within American society. His sermons must address contemporary moral issues while avoiding political controversies that might threaten the Church's tax-exempt status or community reputation for patriotic loyalty. The Sunday morning religious observance concludes with informal socializing that maintains the community networks essential for Italian-American family security and advancement during the uncertain economic and political climate of Vauni. Post-war America. Family groups exchange invitations for shared meals, discuss children's educational progress, and coordinate mutual assistance activities that provide practical support while preserving ethnic solidarity and cultural traditions. As the Romano family walks home from church, their conversation focuses on the community news and social obligations that have emerged from the morning's religious and social activities. Plans for upcoming religious celebrations must be coordinated with work schedules and American social expectations, while community political activities require careful balance between ethnic interests and American patriotic requirements that affect the family's reputation and economic security. The Sunday morning church experience has provided the Romano family with religious inspiration, community connection, and practical information that will influence their week's activities while reinforcing their Italian cultural identity within the broader context of American social adaptation. The complex negotiations required to maintain Catholic faith and ethnic community membership while pursuing American economic and social opportunities reflect the broader challenges facing all immigrant families during the Roaring Twenties. When prosperity and suspicion coexist in ways that demand constant vigilance and strategic cultural adaptation, the Romano family's Sunday afternoon begins with the elaborate meal preparation that transforms their modest apartment into a center for extended family gathering and community social obligations that maintain Italian cultural traditions while adapting to American urban living conditions. Elena Romano's Sunday dinner represents both family celebration and strategic social networking, as the quality of her hospitality demonstrates the family's economic progress, while reinforcing kinship bonds and community connections that provide mutual support and collective advancement opportunities during the uncertain social climate of the 1922nd. The guest list for Sunday dinner reflects careful consideration of family obligations, community relationships, and strategic social positioning that characterizes Italian-American social organization during the post-war period. Giuseppe Sr., E's brother Angelo, and his family represent the successful branch of the extended family whose construction business prosperity provides them with economic security and social influence that benefits less fortunate relatives through employment opportunities and community connections. Their presence demonstrates family solidarity while potentially creating obligations for future reciprocal assistance. Joe's preparation for the family gathering involves selection of appropriate clothing and behavior that will demonstrate his respectability to extended family members whose opinions influence his reputation within Italian-American community networks. His uncle Angelo's approval carries particular weight because of his business success and community standing, making family social occasions important opportunities for Joe to demonstrate the personal development and economic potential that might lead to better employment opportunities or business partnerships. The meal itself showcases Elena's culinary skills while demonstrating the family's improved economic circumstances through the quality and variety of food that would have been unimaginable during their early years. America, traditional Italian dishes prepared according to old country recipes, are supplemented with American ingredients and cooking techniques that reflect the family's cultural adaptation while maintaining ethnic food traditions that preserve community identity and family bonds. Antonio Romano's role during family gatherings requires careful balance between demonstrating educational achievements that make the family proud and maintaining respectful behavior that satisfies traditional Italian expectations about young people's deference to adult authority. His English fluency and American cultural knowledge make him valuable for interpreting mainstream American developments for older relatives. But his enthusiasm for American education and social opportunities sometimes creates tension with family members who worry about excessive assimilation. The afternoon conversation flows between Italian and English, as family members of different generations and cultural orientations share news, opinions, and concerns that reflect the complex pressures facing Italian-American families during the rapidly changing 1922nd. Uncle Angelo's business experiences provide insights into American economic opportunities and challenges, while his wife Maria shares information about successful strategies for household management and child rearing that combine Italian traditions with American innovations. The family gathering also includes discussion of community political developments that affect Italian-American interests within the broader American social and economic system. Local election campaigns, immigration policy changes, and economic developments require careful analysis as family members seek to understand how broader American trends will influence their own opportunities for advancement and security. These political discussions must be conducted with awareness that controversial opinions might be reported to authorities or employers who remain suspicious of immigrant political activities. Joe's cousin Vincent, Angelo's eldest son who has achieved white-collar employment as a bank clerk, represents the kind of economic and social advancement that provides hope and practical guidance for other family members seeking to escape factory labour for more respectable and secure employment. His experiences with American financial institutions, professional workplace culture, and middle-class social expectations provide valuable information while demonstrating the possibilities available to Italian Americans who successfully navigate assimilation requirements. The presence of children at the family gathering reveals the generational changes that are reshaping Italian-American community life. As second-generation Americans develop cultural preferences and social expectations that sometimes conflict with traditional family values and ethnic community customs, their comfortable use of English, familiarity with American popular culture, and casual adoption of American social behaviors represent both family success and potential family separation, as younger generations become increasingly distant from Italian traditions. The afternoon social activities also include visits from non-family community members whose presence reflects the Romano family's position within the broader Italian-American social network that provides mutual assistance, business opportunities, and political influence through collective organization and strategic cooperation. Mr. DeMarco, the social club leader, discusses upcoming community events that require family participation to maintain reputation and access to community benefits. The conversation topics range from practical matters like employment opportunities and housing options to cultural issues like maintaining Italian language skills and preserving religious traditions within American institutional frameworks. These discussions provide education and guidance for family members facing decisions about cultural adaptation, economic advancement, and social positioning that will determine their success within both Italian American and mainstream American society. Elena Romano's management of the social gathering demonstrates the complex skills required of Italian American women who must maintain traditional domestic authority while adapting to American social expectations that may conflict with old country gender roles. Her hospitality must satisfy both Italian standards for family honor and American expectations for modern household management, while her conversations with other women provide practical information about strategies for family advancement that balance ethnic identity with American assimilation. The family gathering also serves economic functions, as relatives share information about employment opportunities, business prospects, and financial strategies that enable collective advancement through mutual assistance and shared resources. Uncle Angelo's construction business success creates employment opportunities for other family members, while providing practical education about American business practices and customer relations that might benefit those seeking to start their own enterprises. The Sunday afternoon social activities include entertainment that combines Italian cultural traditions with American leisure preferences, demonstrating the complex cultural negotiations that characterize immigrant family life during the prosperous but demanding 1922nd. Traditional Italian songs and stories maintain cultural connections, while American popular music and games reflect the family's successful adaptation to American social expectations and leisure opportunities. The gathering provides opportunities for informal courtship supervision, as Joe and Maria Gianelli's relationship development occurs under family observation that ensures proper behavior while allowing the personal interaction that proper American marriage customs require. The extended family's approval of their relationship carries significant weight in determining the couple's future prospects, while providing practical guidance about marriage planning and family establishment within Italian-American community frameworks. As the afternoon gathering continues, the conversation inevitably addresses the broader challenges facing Italian-American families seeking full acceptance within American society, while maintaining ethnic identity and community connections that provide security, meaning. The family's success stories provide hope and practical guidance, while their continuing struggles reflect the persistence of discrimination and cultural barriers that limit immigrant advancement despite economic prosperity and demonstrated loyalty. The family gathering concludes with expressions of mutual support and commitments to continued cooperation that reinforce the extended family networks essential for Italian-American community survival and advancement during the messy, uncertain social and economic climate of post-war America. Plans for future gatherings, shared activities, and mutual assistance arrangements maintain family solidarity while adapting to American social patterns and economic requirements. As guests prepare to leave, the Romano family's Sunday afternoon has served multiple functions beyond simple social visiting, providing education, networking, cultural preservation, and strategic planning that will influence their continued navigation of American opportunities and challenges. The complex negotiations between Italian traditions and American expectations that characterize these family gatherings reflect the broader immigrant experience during the Roaring Twenties, when prosperity and suspicion coexist in ways that require constant adaptation and strategic cultural management. As the extended family gathering concludes and the Romano apartment returns to its normal occupancy, Joe finds himself in the contemplative mood that Sunday evenings naturally inspire, sitting by the window that overlooks the neighborhood where his family has built their modest version of the American dream, while maintaining connections to Italian cultural traditions that provide meaning and security within the rapidly changing social landscape of the 1922nd. The day's religious observances, family obligations, and community interactions have provided him with the information and insights necessary for the strategic planning that will determine his personal and family trajectory through the complex opportunities and challenges of post-war American society. The apartment's evening atmosphere reflects the comfortable domesticity that the Romano family has achieved through 15 years of careful adaptation to American economic and social requirements, while preserving the Italian cultural values that provide emotional stability and community identity. Elena Romano's satisfaction with the day's successful entertaining demonstrates her mastery of the complex social skills required to maintain family reputation and community standing, while Giuseppe Sr.'s relaxed demeanour indicates his approval of the family's continued progress toward respectability and economic security. Joe's personal reflections focus on the marriage decision that will determine his transition from son to family head within the traditional Italian social structure, while potentially affecting his opportunities for advancement within American economic and social systems. His relationship with Maria Gianelli has reached the stage where formal engagement becomes necessary to satisfy community expectations and family obligations. But marriage also requires careful coordination of economic resources, housing arrangements, and extended family responsibilities that will influence his ability to pursue individual advancement goals. The financial calculations involved in marriage planning reveal the complex economic pressures facing young Italian-American men during the prosperous but expensive 1922nd, when consumer expectations and social requirements demand higher incomes, while traditional family obligations limit individual freedom to pursue purely personal advancement strategies. Joe's factory wages provide adequate support for bachelor life, but marriage requires housing costs, household furnishing, and social entertaining expenses that will consume most of his current earnings, while potentially limiting his ability to invest in education or business opportunities. The evening's quiet contemplation also addresses the cultural tensions that characterize his generation's experience as second-generation Italian-Americans seeking to balance ethnic identity with American assimilation in ways that satisfy both family expectations and mainstream social requirements. His comfort with American popular culture, workplace customs, and social opportunities sometimes conflicts with Italian family traditions about community loyalty, extended family obligations, and cultural preservation that his parents consider essential for family security and moral integrity. Antonio Romano's presence during the evening provides Joe with reminders of the educational and professional opportunities that remain available to Italian-American young people willing to invest time and energy in acquiring the language skills, cultural knowledge, and social connections necessary for advancement beyond factory labor into white-collar employment that offers greater economic security and social respectability. Antonio's citizenship preparation and educational achievements demonstrate the possibilities, while also revealing the personal costs of assimilation strategies that may weaken family bonds and community connections. The family radio's Sunday evening programming provides background entertainment that introduces American cultural values and social expectations into the domestic space where Italian traditions have historically dominated family decision-making and value formation. Tonight's programming includes religious music that reinforces Christian moral teachings, popular songs that celebrate romantic love and individual fulfillment, and news broadcasts that discuss national, political, and economic developments affecting all American families regardless of ethnic background. Joe's evening newspaper reading provides additional information about the broader American social and economic trends that will influence Italian-American community development during the continuing prosperity of the mid-1922nd. Articles about immigration policy, labor relations, and urban development reveal the political forces that will determine the opportunities and challenges facing immigrant families seeking full participation in American society while maintaining ethnic identity and community. Solidarity. The Sunday evening's contemplative atmosphere also enables Joe to consider the broader implications of his personal decisions for Italian-American community development and cultural preservation during a critical period when second-generation Americans must choose between assimilation strategies that may weaken ethnic identity and cultural preservation approaches that might limit individual advancement opportunities. His choices will influence not only his own family's future, but also the broader patterns of community adaptation that will determine Italian-American social and economic position within American society. The evening's reflection includes analysis of the various role models and cautionary examples that he has observed within the Italian-American community during his young adulthood, from successful businessmen who have achieved prosperity while maintaining ethnic identity to families who have experienced economic or social failure through inappropriate adaptation strategies. These community experiences provide practical guidance while demonstrating both the possibilities and limitations facing Italian Americans seeking advancement during the complex social and economic climate of post-war America. Joe's consideration of future career opportunities requires evaluation of the trade-offs between immediate economic security and long-term advancement potential that characterize employment decisions for immigrant workers during the prosperous but competitive 1922nd. Factory work provides steady wages and predictable advancement within established industrial hierarchies, while entrepreneurial opportunities offer greater potential rewards, but also involve risks that could threaten family security and community standing if business ventures fail. The evening's strategic planning also addresses the geographic decisions that will influence the Romano family's social position and cultural identity as they consider whether to remain within established Italian-American neighborhoods that provide community support but may limit American social advancement, or to move to mixed neighborhoods where ethnic identity becomes less visible but community networks may be weaker and social acceptance remains uncertain. The Sunday evening's quiet conversations with family members reveal the different perspectives and priorities that must be coordinated in family decision-making about assimilation strategies, economic planning, and cultural adaptation during a period when rapid social change creates both unprecedented opportunities and significant risks for immigrant families seeking American success while preserving ethnic identity and community. Connections. As Joe prepares for bed, his Sunday evening reflections have provided him with the insights and strategic framework necessary for the personal and family decisions that will determine his trajectory through American society during its most dynamic and demanding decade. The complex negotiations between Italian traditions and American expectations that characterize his daily experience require constant evaluation and strategic adaptation, but they also offer possibilities for achievement and fulfillment that previous immigrant generations could not have imagined. The Romano family's Sunday evening routine concludes with preparations for the coming week that will test their continuing ability to balance ethnic identity with American advancement, family obligations with individual opportunities, and cultural preservation with social adaptation in ways that enable prosperity without sacrificing the values and relationships that provide meaning and security within the rapidly changing landscape of 1922nd America. As the Romano apartment settles into the quiet contemplation that marks the end of another week in their careful navigation of American opportunity and Italian tradition, Joe Romano finds himself at his bedroom window, looking out over the neighborhood that has served as both launching pad and potential limitation for his family's American journey. The electric street lamps cast harsh light on sidewalks, where children played games that mixed old country traditions with new world innovations, where elderly immigrants maintained front-stoop conversations in rapid Italian, and where young couples like himself and Maria navigated courtship customs that balanced ethnic expectations with American social freedoms. The week's experiences have crystallized into a moment of profound understanding about the fundamental choice facing his generation of Italian Americans during this pivotal decade in American history. The post-war prosperity has created unprecedented opportunities for social and economic advancement, but accessing these opportunities requires a form of cultural transformation that goes far beyond simple language acquisition or occupational training. Success in 1922nd America demands the systematic reconstruction of personal identity, family relationships, and community connections according to American social expectations that may conflict with the very values and traditions that provided his family with the strength to survive their initial immigrant experience. Joe's recognition of this truth has been building throughout the day's religious observances, family gatherings, and community interactions, but it reaches full clarity as he considers the marriage decision that will determine not only his personal future, but his position within both Italian American and mainstream American society. Marriage to Maria Gianelli within traditional Italian community frameworks would provide emotional security and cultural continuity, but it might also limit his opportunities for advancement within American economic and social systems that reward individual achievement over collective loyalty and cultural conformity over ethnic distinctiveness. The strategic choice he faces reflects the broader dilemma confronting all second-generation immigrant families during the Roaring Twenties, when American prosperity creates incentives for assimilation, while ethnic communities provide security against the discrimination and economic instability that continue to threaten foreign-born families despite their demonstrated loyalty and economic contributions. The balance between advancement and preservation, individual success, and community solidarity requires constant negotiation and frequent compromise with personal values and cultural identity. Joe's understanding of the integration requirements extends beyond personal decisions to encompass the systematic changes in behavior, appearance, and social relationships that successful Americanization demands during the politically suspicious climate of post-Red Scare America. His observations of successful Italian Americans, like his cousin Vincent, reveal that advancement requires not just economic achievement, but visible demonstration of American cultural values through residential choices, social activities, political affiliations, and family practices that may weaken the ethnic community networks that provided security during more difficult periods. The realization also encompasses the generational tensions that will inevitably result from his strategic choices about cultural adaptation and family advancement. His parents' limited English and old country social expectations have provided family stability and moral guidance, but they also create barriers to full participation in American social and economic opportunities that require cultural fluency and social connections, unavailable through ethnic community networks alone. His brother Antonio's educational achievements demonstrate the possibilities available to those willing to invest in American cultural adaptation, but they also reveal the potential costs in terms of family relationships and community identity. Joe's strategic assessment includes recognition that the window of opportunity for Italian-American advancement may be limited by changing American political attitudes toward immigration and ethnic diversity that could result in renewed discrimination against foreign-born families if economic conditions deteriorate or international tensions increase. The prosperity of the 1922nd has created favorable conditions for immigrant advancement, but economic downturns or political crises could quickly revive the suspicions and restrictions that characterized the immediate post-war period. The evening's contemplation leads Joe to a series of concrete decisions about the immediate actions necessary to position himself and his family for continued advancement while preserving essential cultural connections and community support systems. His strategy must balance aggressive pursuit of American social and economic opportunities with careful maintenance of Italian family traditions and community relationships that provide security and meaning within the uncertain landscape of immigrant experience. His first decision involves embracing the name change that will facilitate workplace advancement and social acceptance. Giuseppe Romano Jr. will become Joe Romano in all official and social contexts, marking his transition from Italian immigrant son to American worker and potential citizen. This change represents more than simple convenience. It symbolizes his commitment to American identity while preserving private connections to Italian heritage through family relationships and community participation. His second strategic decision involves pursuing the educational opportunities that will enable advancement beyond factory labor into white-collar employment that offers greater economic security and social respectability. Evening English classes, citizenship preparation, and business training will require significant investments of time and money, but they also provide pathways to the economic independence and social standing that enable fuller participation in American social and cultural life. His third decision addresses the marriage question that has dominated his personal planning throughout the week's experiences and reflections. He will propose to Maria Gianelli within the traditional Italian community framework that satisfies family expectations and cultural obligations, but their marriage will be planned according to American social customs and economic practices that enable geographic and social mobility rather than reinforcing traditional ethnic community boundaries. His fourth strategic choice involves the family's residential plans and community involvement that will determine their social position and cultural identity during the crucial years of continued American economic expansion. The Romano family will seek housing in mixed neighborhoods, where ethnic identity becomes less visible while maintaining connections to Italian-American institutions that provide cultural continuity and mutual support during periods of cultural continuity. Economic or social difficulty. His final and most complex decision involves the political and social activities that will demonstrate American loyalty while preserving ethnic community connections and advancing immigrant interests within American democratic frameworks. He will participate in mainstream American civic organizations while supporting Italian-American political candidates and community development projects that benefit ethnic families seeking advancement within American social economic systems. Joe's strategic framework reflects his understanding that successful integration requires not the abandonment of ethnic identity, but its strategic management according to American social expectations and economic requirements. The goal is not to become indistinguishable from native-born Americans, but to demonstrate sufficient cultural fluency and political reliability to access the opportunities available within American society, while preserving the family, relationships, and community connections that provide security and meaning. As Joe concludes his evening reflections and prepares for sleep, his decisions represent both personal ambition and family strategy, individual advancement and community development, cultural adaptation, and identity preservation. The choices he has made reflect the complex realities facing all immigrant families during the Roaring Twenties, when prosperity and suspicion coexist in ways that demand constant vigilance and strategic cultural management. The Romano family's week has ended with strategic clarity about the path forward through American society during its most dynamic and demanding decade. Joe's realization of integration requirements provides the framework for decisions that will determine not only personal success, but family advancement and community development within the rapidly changing landscape of 1922nd America, where opportunity and obligation intersect in ways that require careful navigation and strategic cultural adaptation. Tomorrow will begin another week of factory labor, community obligations, and cultural negotiations. But tonight's reflections have provided Joe Romano with the strategic insight and personal commitment necessary to succeed as an American, while honoring his Italian heritage and family responsibilities. The integration he seeks represents not cultural surrender, but strategic adaptation, enabling full participation in American prosperity, while preserving the values and relationships that give meaning to success within the complex social landscape of immigrant America during the Roaring Twenties. The first light of Monday morning finds Joe Romano no longer thinking of himself as Giuseppe Jr., awakening with the sense of purpose and strategic clarity that comes from having made fundamental decisions about identity, ambition, and cultural navigation during America's most transformative decade. The weekend's religious observances, family gatherings, and personal reflections have crystallized into a comprehensive plan for advancement that balances Italian heritage with American opportunity in ways that promise both individual success and family security within the rapidly evolving social landscape of the 1922nd. The Romano apartment buzzes with the familiar Monday morning energy, but today's routine carries additional significance as family members prepare to implement the strategic decisions that will determine their trajectory through American society during the continuing prosperity of the mid-decade. Elena Romano's breakfast preparation includes subtle changes that reflect the family's evolving relationship with American consumer culture. Store-bought cereal alongside traditional Italian bread, American coffee supplementing the espresso that maintains connection to old country customs. Giuseppe Senior reviews the morning newspaper with particular attention to employment advertisements and economic news that might affect his own advancement opportunities within the shipyard's hierarchy of skilled positions. The war's end reduced demand for military vessel construction, but civilian shipping and industrial development continue to provide steady work for experienced craftsmen willing to adapt their skills to peacetime production requirements. His own strategic planning includes consideration of additional English lessons that might enable advancement to supervisory positions previously available only to native-born workers. Antonio Romano gathers his citizenship study materials with renewed determination, understanding that his successful naturalization represents not just personal achievement, but family advancement within American social and political systems that increasingly favor documented citizens over resident aliens. His morning routine includes practice of the English pronunciation and American historical knowledge that will be tested during his naturalization interview, but also preparation for the broader role he will play as the family's primary interface with mainstream American institutional requirements. Joe's own morning preparation involves the subtle but significant changes in appearance and demeanor that reflect his commitment to strategic Americanization during the crucial period when second-generation immigrants must establish their adult identity within American social and economic frameworks. His clothing selection emphasizes clean, conservative dress that demonstrates respectability without ostentation, while his grooming reflects attention to American standards for professional appearance that might influence supervisors' perceptions of his advancement potential. The walk to the subway station takes Joe through neighborhood streets that reveal the Monday morning resumption of industrial and commercial activities that drive American economic prosperity while providing employment opportunities for immigrant families seeking advancement through steady labor and strategic adaptation. The familiar faces of fellow workers reflect the shared experience of families navigating between ethnic identity and American ambition during a decade when both prosperity and suspicion shape the opportunities available for foreign-born residents. The subway platform conversation reveals the continuing political tensions that affect immigrant communities despite the economic prosperity that has characterized the mid-1922nd. Workers discuss recent news about immigration quota enforcement, labor union activities, and local political developments that could influence the employment security and advancement opportunities available to foreign-born families seeking full participation in American economic and social systems. Joe's commute provides opportunities to observe the broader American social changes that create both opportunities and challenges for immigrant families during the Roaring Twenties. Young American women demonstrate the economic independence and cultural freedom that scandalize older immigrants while potentially influencing Italian-American families' expectations about gender roles and social behavior. Business advertisements promote consumer goods and lifestyle aspirations that define middle-class status while creating financial pressures that require careful family planning and strategic economic management. The arrival at Acme Automotive Parts Factory marks the beginning of another week of industrial labor that provides economic security while potentially limiting advancement opportunities for workers who fail to demonstrate American cultural fluency and political reliability. Joe's strategic approach to workplace relationships now includes more aggressive pursuit of the supervisory approval and co-worker respect that enable promotion within factory hierarchies that favor workers with demonstrated American social skills and cultural adaptation. The factory floor buzzes with Monday morning energy as workers resume the industrial rhythms that drive American economic prosperity while providing steady employment for immigrant families willing to submit to the discipline and cultural requirements of modern manufacturing systems. Joe's approach to his assembly line responsibilities now includes conscious attention to the efficiency and reliability that supervisors value in workers being considered for advancement to positions offering higher wages and greater job security. Supervisor Frank Sullivan's Monday morning announcement about production targets and workplace policies includes subtle references to the loyalty and American values that management expects from workers seeking advancement within company hierarchies that increasingly favor employees with demonstrated cultural assimilation and political reliability. Joe's response to these expectations reflects his strategic understanding of the performance requirements that characterize successful immigrant adaptation during the politically sensitive post-war period. The morning's work routine provides Joe with opportunities to implement his strategic plan for workplace advancement through demonstrations of productivity, reliability, and American cultural fluency that distinguish ambitious workers from those satisfied with basic employment security. His interactions with co-workers now include more conscious cultivation of the relationships and reputation that enable advancement within informal factory social systems that influence formal promotion decisions. Mike Kowalski's Monday morning conversation reveals his own family's strategic planning for continued advancement through the purchase of a house in a mixed neighborhood where ethnic identity becomes less visible, while American social standing becomes more prominent. His military service continues to provide advantages in workplace advancement and community social positioning that remain unavailable to foreign-born workers, lacking such credentials for unquestioned American identity. Rosa Benedetto's return to work after her weekend social activities reflects the continuing expansion of opportunities for Italian-American women who balance factory employment with traditional family obligations while adapting to American expectations for female independence and economic contribution. Her workplace competence and social skills provide practical examples of successful adaptation strategies that other immigrant families might emulate in their own advancement planning. The factory's Americanization program begins the new week with announcements about English classes, citizenship preparation, and civic activities that provide immigrant workers with opportunities for cultural education while demonstrating company commitment to employee development and American social integration. Joe's participation in these programs now reflects strategic calculation about their potential contribution to his advancement goals, rather than simple compliance with employer expectations. The morning shift's production routine enables Joe to consider the marriage proposal that will formalize his relationship with Maria Gianelli while potentially affecting his career advancement through the family responsibilities and community obligations that characterize Italian-American social organization. His strategic planning includes consideration of timing, financial requirements, and social implications that will influence both personal happiness and economic security within the complex framework of immigrant family development. Quality control inspections during the morning shift provide Joe with opportunities to demonstrate the reliability and attention to detail that supervisors value in workers being considered for advancement to positions requiring greater responsibility and technical skill. His consistent performance and positive attitude reflect his understanding of the workplace dynamics that determine promotion opportunities within industrial hierarchies that reward both competence and cultural adaptation. The factory cafeteria's Monday morning atmosphere reflects the weekend's social activities and family experiences that influence workers' attitudes and relationships within the workplace community that provides both economic opportunity and social education for immigrant families seeking advancement within American society. Joe's participation in these informal social networks now includes more strategic attention to the relationships and reputation that influence advancement opportunities. As the morning shift progresses toward the lunch break that will provide opportunities for the workplace socializing and information exchange that characterize industrial community life, Joe's strategic approach to his factory employment reflects his broader commitment to American advancement while maintaining the Italian family relationships and community connections that provide security and meaning within the center of rapidly changing social landscape of 1922nd America. The Monday morning's industrial routine marks the beginning of a new week in Joe Romano's systematic pursuit of American success through strategic cultural adaptation, workplace advancement, and family development that will determine his position within both Italian-American and mainstream American society during the continuing prosperity and social transformation of the Roaring Twenties. His strategic clarity and personal commitment provide the foundation for decisions and actions that will test his ability to achieve individual advancement while preserving the cultural identity and community connections that give meaning to success within the complex immigrant experience of America's most dynamic decade.